Well, for some reaction on this proposed bill, we're reaching out right now to Matthew Dubé. He is the NDP critic for public safety and emergency preparedness. He joins us in Montreal. Matthew, thanks for joining us. Let's begin with your concerns on Bill C-23.
Well, there's a few concerns that we planned on raising once debate got going. There's the concern that's been raised now by these lawyers who are talking about the ability of American agents to detain folks. There's also the fact that we're allowing U.S. border guards to carry firearms on Canadian soil, and this is something that already happens in airports with pre-clearance. But the fact is, we're looking to expand it, and I think given everything that's gone on with the Trump administration in the last couple of weeks, in particular with the travel ban, certainly those concerns have become even more important in the last little while.
Well, except that if a U.S. border guard was to deny entry to anyone coming from Canada, essentially they're still on Canadian soil. They'd still be safely at home. They're not stuck in limbo.
Well, there is a few questions asked about that, and the government itself actually is asking those questions. Just last week, we saw that the Public Safety Department was actually asking lawyers to check in on how American agents would be able to or not enforce the travel ban on Canadian soil. So there is a little bit of a legal cloud there as to what law will apply. It's a concern that we did plan on raising with the bill. It's a concern that that the government itself recognizes, given that they've looked into how it'll change given the current events.
Well, pre-clearance is not a right. It's extended to essentially allow a traveler to get cleared before they go to the United States. Thereby, when they land, they don't have to wait in line. They just go and do what they will as either a tourist or for business. What's wrong with that? Essentially, it's the United States that has to approve anybody's entry. We are strangers in a foreign land in this case. Why not extend this for the convenience of people?
So that's a great question, and that's the debate that we have here. See, on the one hand, like I said, pre-clearance already goes on, but the question it becomes when someone leaves the pre-clearance zone, now that causes a check on the file now, where the American agents can ask questions and even detain a person, as you mentioned. That's something that's new with this current bill. That's not something that goes on currently. And the other issue that comes up is that we're looking to expand it. So you rightly pointed out the convenience of it. Certainly, it's something that helps, for example, planes land in more American destinations because they can land in airports where there isn't necessarily that border setup there, the customs setup rather, excuse me. But the problem becomes now, given that we're expanding it, so for example, we're going to Amtrak stations or even by other forms of land travel, now it becomes a bit more of an issue because we're seeing more types of travelers. So given all the talk, for example, we have about refugees arriving, and so forth, and even people asking for their citizenship or permanent resident status, that black mark on their file, if they decide to leave a pre-clearance zone, can cause complications further down the line, even though they're a law-abiding individual. And so these are concerns that need to be raised. Certainly, the debate's not over yet. In fact, the bill hasn't even been brought yet for the first hour of debate. But that being said, it's certainly something that we recognize could be problematic, and we're going to be following up on, because at the end of the day, Canadian law should apply on Canadian soil, and the government knows this. They, like I said, they've had their lawyers looking into how Trump's travel ban will affect this bill going forward and pre-clearance in general.
Matthew, let me jump in.
Certainly it's a concern.
And let me jump in before we lose time here, though. So does that mean then the NDP is going to work with the government to amend this bill and pass it in some form, or are you going to outright oppose it?
Well, we're still looking into that. We're having discussions with different lawyers who are experts in that field. Certainly, we recognize the convenience of pre-clearance and how it's good for business, it's good for travelers. But at the same time, human rights are certainly have to be front and center, and making sure that we're applying Canadian law on Canadian soil. So we're going to be examining this closely.